I got a code for Battle Princess Madelyn, or Madelyn, and this is a very cool game for the Nintendo Switch. For the most part, it is a love letter to any fan of ghouls and ghosts or any fan of 16-bit action-adventure platformers out there. And it starts basically as that. You've got a couple of modes. You've got an arcade mode and you've got a story mode, and you play this princess, Madelyn, who gets all kinds of weapons and armor and magical powers, and she has a dog that gets killed right in the story, so very much like John Wick. Revenge has to be sought after, and the dog actually turns into this little ghost that follows you along. And then you gotta go and wipe out all kinds of skeletons and zombies and bosses and creepy crawlies all over the place. It plays in the arcade mode very much like one of the Ghouls and Ghosts games, or Ghosts and Goblins type games. And I've been playing a lot of Super Nintendo and Genesis games recently, and I couldn't believe how much this looked just like one of the Super Nintendo games. This looks like, honestly, this could have been put on a cartridge and slapped into a 16-bit machine, except it's in widescreen, and there have been some concessions and some modernizations made to make it look a little bit better for recent days. You can add scan lines to this thing even if you want to, but it already looked like it had been affected that way, that it had the, even with the scan lines off, it still looked like there were slightly sparkly sprites happening, you know? Great effects in the background, lots of animated elements happening, trees are falling and fire is bursting, and great magical effects. Even when you get brought back to life, you got this big lightning storm that just creates a new version of yourself, which is pretty rad. The arcade mode is fun and super challenging, just like you would expect out of a Ghost and Goblins type of experience, or Ghouls and Ghosts type of experience. You know, you get a couple of hits, you're losing armor, and then kapah, you're dead. You know, you little pieces and bits and pieces of your costume fall off. And of course you can also go in the other way, and you can add pieces to your costume and add abilities, and you look tougher, and you shoot awesome enhanced projectiles that do a whole bunch of damage. I can tell you definitively that the arcade mode in Battle Princess Madelyn is fun. It's super fun, and it absolutely taps into all of that nostalgic glee that someone like myself, who's been playing games like this forever, would feel. And I'm sure there's lots of you out there that will enjoy the hell out of that experience. Now, the problem with this title is when you jump into the story mode, which kind of rips chunks and pieces of the arcade environments and some of the arcade storytelling and tries to make it a much bigger, more robust Metroidvania RPG type experience, where you'll leave one area and go into another area and be able to backtrack and find new abilities and be able to access this, and you'll be able to warp all over the place. But the way they've set up the map and the way they've set up just navigation through the game is so utterly confusing and opaque. I was constantly frustrated about where I was popping into a world, where I was exiting a world, what my objectives were, how come I couldn't get past this enemy this time. I jumped like invisible wall type scenarios, you know, I couldn't leap over this bad guy for whatever reason, or I had to work on the boss forever, and it was just incredibly frustrating. It just felt like it was too patched together. It felt like it had been rushed to assembly, whereas the arcade mode, in its simplicity and its very retro kind of design, is elegant. The story mode is just a mess. It's a really big mash. And there's elements of it, though, that I dug, because they started off like we're starting The Princess Bride, where we're getting a story told to us, and then we get to dive into the story, and I thought that was kind of cute. I mean, there's some nice wrappings in there, but it's just a cluttered mess that left me very frustrated and a little bit pissed off when I was playing it. Thankfully, the arcade mode of this game really redeems it, and it is definitely worth checking out. But yes, I would say, even if you have this obsession for this classic stuff like I do, just wait a little while. I'm sure it's going to go down in price, and it will definitely be worth your eyeballs. And honestly, there might be some patches to make the story mode even better. As it stands, though, I'm going to give Battle Princess Madelyn a 7 out of 10.